So have you guys seen this Joe Rogan interview where he talks to a sex neuroscientist? He's talking with her about the scary yet very real future of sex robots. In the interview, they talk about a movie that I absolutely love, Ex Machina, which, believe it or not, came out a decade ago in 2014. In any case, not only does it feature robots tearing up the dance floor with X-Wing rebel fighter pilot, but at the end of that movie, you may be asking yourself, would I have turned to the dark side for Alicia Vikander? But getting back to that Joe Rogan interview, yeah, it was scary, but the comments were even scarier. As a single man who doesn't want children, who doesn't want a wife, a sex robot would be perfect. Imagine you save up all your money, you buy this AI sex bot, and it still turns you down. And perhaps my favorite, any man who's been dragged by their significant other to a store on their day off, argued about a duvet cover that they don't even care about, and dealt with the silence and cold shoulder on the ride home, will find the evolution of a sex bot appealing. Now, gents, I'm not here to judge. If you like the idea of a fembot, hey, more power to you. But the bigger problem here is the health issue that can't be denied. What am I talking about? The fact that men, especially younger men, are lonelier than ever. Seriously, they've measured this. Apparently, UCLA has this whole loneliness scale, and over 60% of Americans are registering as lonely. And let's break that up, because that included both men and women. Now, this won't surprise any of us guys here, but when it comes to measurements of loneliness, men in general are 25% more likely to identify as lonely. And to be clear, I'm not denying that women don't get lonely, but men get lonely more often and have less avenues to deal with it. In general, younger men are more likely to be lonely than older men, so we see millennials and Gen Z being in the danger zone quite a bit. And on top of that, heavy social media users and those that work from home, especially when you work from home more than what you want. All these factors seem to correlate with somebody feeling loneliness. So all this begs the question, why are we lonely? What's changed in the last 25 years that has created this loneliness epidemic? And what are the solutions, especially the one that no one is talking about? Well, before I get into that, gents, I want to introduce you to today's sponsor, BetterHelp. Now, gents, in case you didn't know, BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a variety of issues. And straight up, gents, I've used their services. Like a lot of you guys, I've had life hit me hard. Years ago, I lost my sister to suicide, and that memory still haunts me and my family. I can tell you it is nice to have a professional that you can speak with. Now, gents, this is the way it works. So you're going to go over to their website, you're going to answer a few questions about your preferences and your needs. The goal here is that BetterHelp wants to correctly match you with the right therapist. Now, once you're matched with your therapist, you can talk to them however you want. You can talk to them via text, phone, chat. You can do a video call. On top of that, you can message your therapist at any time. You schedule the appointments so they fit with your calendar. And if at any time you don't feel comfortable, you want to switch therapists, you can do that at no additional cost. In a nutshell, gents, with BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you get with in-office therapy, but with a therapist that's actually custom picked for you. Plus, better scheduling flexibility at an affordable price. To get started, gents, go to BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/realmenrealstyle. Make sure to use this link. I'll put it in the description of today's video. This is going to ensure you get the best deal out there on the web, 10% off your first month. If you need professional help, use the link in the description of today's video. Go check them out at BetterHelp. So to start things off, let's address the elephant in the room, the base question. Why are men so lonely? Has it always been this way? I would argue there definitely are some old school reasons. By that, I mean, if you go back 1,000 years, I think that there were still societal norms as they are nowadays, that it's difficult for a man to express his feelings. I mean, we've come a long way, guys, but there are still expectations that to be a manly man, you got to keep everything inside. Now, I definitely think in certain circles, in certain environments, a man can be somewhat vulnerable. But if you're that guy that's always crying, there are going to be plenty of situations, even in today's modern world, in which you're going to be rejected and you are going to be ridiculed. So does this mean that men have always been lonelier? Well, not exactly. You see, there used to be men's clubs. And I'm not talking about strip joints. No, I'm talking about organizations, informal informal and formal, that supported fraternal and brotherly relationships between other men. Now, many of these organizations still exist. Some of them have a bad name, other ones have a great name. But in general, a lot of these clubs have disappeared, and many fell out of favor with societal norms. On top of that, the disappearance and effect of religion. Now, some of you guys are thinking, yeah, organized religion, there's nothing good that comes out of it. As a guy growing up Catholic, nobody can deny the negative. But what you can't ignore is the feeling of community in a healthy church, in a healthy congregation, whenever you're a part of it. And with now coming in on 57% of Americans never or very rarely ever going to church, the positive effects of religion and community are definitely on the downturn. Another trend, this one modern, that we're seeing is making people more and more lonely is that they are living alone. I know for a lot of my Indian and Pakistani friends, when they come here to the United States, they are shocked at how all of these young people are outside of the family unit. There isn't the whole generational thing where you've got your grandparents living with their grandkids. No, you've got, people at 18 getting kicked out of the house. Now, I get it. Living on your own, you want the freedom, but you also lose a lot when it comes to the connections that you took for granted in your family. The exception to this, if you're in a toxic family unit, then getting out is a great thing. Now, all those things have definitely increased loneliness, but in the last 25 years, it has accelerated to a level never seen before because of technology and the advent of the internet. So first up, the internet. What it brought to the forefront was the economic principle of the winner takes all. So if you're not familiar with how the winner takes all in economics, imagine you are a guitar player. You're pretty good. In fact, you're the best in your village. Maybe there's a guy 3 villages away that plays a little bit better, but for everyone in your town, you're great. You're awesome. Well, the issue with the internet is all of a sudden it introduced everyone in your village to this amazing guitar player out in southern Tennessee. I mean, this guy's 1,000 miles away. And then it gets even worse. Some Italian dude on the other side of the world all of a sudden is grabbing their attention. And all of a sudden, your local audience, their expectations have shot up here. And their value, their thoughts of you and your ability, all of a sudden that has dropped. So what does that have to do with loneliness? Because it's had that same effect in the dating world. 25 years ago, a guy that was on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe a 6, he could reasonably pick up another 6, maybe even a 7, sometimes even an 8 if he dressed well and got everything lined up. 200 years ago, people would usually marry somebody within 15 miles of where they lived. 50 years ago, that number had gone up, but still people were usually dating in smaller pools, and you would find that if someone's an 8, they would hook up with another 8. If you were a 2, then you would hook up with another 2. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of how that measurement works, but what I want to point out is a full-on population. Let's say we have 10 on one side and 10 on the other. Usually you would get about 8 to 9 pretty good matches. The problem now with the winner take all in dating is that all the women are shooting for the Giga Chad. You know what I'm talking about. This guy has everything. He's making 7 figures. He's got a 7-inch. He's 7 feet tall and he's got 7-pack abs. And not only did technology ruin dating, let's look at our home work-life balance. The reality is most of us are telecommuting. We're working from home. We actually never seem to stop. It's 11 o'clock at night. Who am I kidding? It's 2 o'clock in the morning and you are still checking work emails. You're constantly distracted by updates, notification, tons of information coming in. You're working 60, 70 hours a week, but it doesn't feel like that because you don't feel like you're getting everything done. Now, 30 years ago, you were isolated in a cubicle, but you could at least get up and go to the water cooler and shoot the shit with people. Nowadays, you're isolated in your own home and occasionally, you get to see people on Zoom, but it's not the same. And don't even get me started with how our entertainment is making us more lonely. Probably like most of you guys, I think the red pill community has some great points. But let's face it, they're going after clicks, and that's why they are taking men and women and they're dividing us. I mean, seriously, it's like Jerry Springer all over again on a lot of these shows. In case you don't know your history, Jerry Springer and Geraldo, these guys would bring on KKK members, Nazis, and Black Panthers all onto the same show and then be surprised when a fight broke out. I mean, seriously, what are people thinking on these shows? It's a dumpster fire and we like to watch. So, how to become less lonely. And what's a solution I have that nobody seems to be talking about? Well, first up, let's talk about the proven common solutions. I know, that doesn't sound exciting. But here's the deal, gents. Get out of your own way and stop thinking that you need to find some secret solution that nobody has talked about because it really isn't that complex. First up, realize and accept that loneliness is an issue. For some of us manly men that still wash our hands with gasoline, this is tough. I mean, seriously, I grew up watching the movie Lone Wolf McQuade. I wanted to be a lone wolf. But the reality is loneliness isn't good for you. In fact, the negative health impacts of being lonely are very similar to those of obesity, smoking, physical inactivity, and air pollution. Consistently being lonely increases the likelihood of depression, anxiety, and dementia. Next up, can you leverage technology in a positive fashion. I find for me, cleaning up my phone is like taking a shower. I've got to do it like once a month. Somehow notifications slip in. I go through, I turn them all off. I even turn off my phone once I get home. Nowadays, there is no computer at home, although occasionally one does sneak back there. But I constantly am reminding myself, again, it's like a shower. I'm like, okay, let's do an audit. Am I spending too much time on my phone? I monitor my screen time. In fact, I do this exercise with my kids, but I'm kind of doing it with myself. I ask everyone to look at their screen time. I have to show mine as well. And we talk about what are our goals, what are our ambitions, and is the time, because you can see which apps you were spending time on. Is this aligned with going after your goals? And I find that doing this with a group, with a bunch of younger people, all of a sudden I've got to ask myself, yeah, I can do a better job. Remember, your phone, your laptop, your technology is there to serve you. In fact, I'm going to double down on this point by asking you, could you take a technology fast at least once a week? If you're not familiar with fasting, that is restraining from something. I know a lot of religions, they will fast at various times throughout the year. But are you capable? I mean, because you can do a lot of things, right? Could you turn off your phone, to not touch any electronics for 24 hours? I bring this up because a friend of mine, Adam, he's Jewish, and I invited him to a mastermind, and he pointed out, nah, man, you've got it right in the time in which I'm with my family. That's when we celebrate our Sabbath, and there's no electronics during that time period. Now, this got me thinking, as a dad that wanted his kids more, I'm like thinking, wow, that's really awesome to have a time period. You know what? You don't need to be religious. I'm not encouraging you to, convert or join a religion. My point, can you make it a ritual? Can you make it a habit so that once a week you are taking a break, that you're logging off? Now, this next one's obvious, but really hard, especially for younger people, and that is to get out and around people. I was talking with my son about this. He's a freshman at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and he agreed that a lot of younger people, they just don't want to put themselves out there. They are scared of rejection. Now, as an introvert and a latchkey kid, I can somewhat relate. I remember just growing up and how difficult it was to be in and around other people. I always thought people were judging me. I always thought I was going to get rejected. I was a skinny kid. I mean, I used alcohol as a crutch throughout my first few years in college, pretty much throughout my entire career in undergrad, to be able to be around the ladies, to be able to talk to and be who I thought a fun person. And gents, let me be clear. I'm not advocating alcohol, but I am saying, can you actually set something up? Can you create a system so that it's going to force you to show up, to get out there? Can you prepay to take a class, to be in and around people? And I say pay, put money down there, because guess what? When you have put a little bit of skin in the game, you are less likely to flake or back out. This could be a dance class. This could be a jiu-jitsu class. It doesn't have to be with a big group. This could be with one other person. But you putting yourself out there and getting around people, that is a huge step. And building right off that, group exercise. That one's really easy to find. And here's the thing I love about group exercise. You're also hitting the point of moving your body, getting the blood going, and you feel good. You have the endorphins going through the body. You're around a group of people. People naturally talk, especially if you show up, the instructor thanks you, says your name. All of a sudden, you're recognized. You start spotting. You see, you're out shopping and you run into somebody who you've seen 50 times in the gym. They say hello. They acknowledge you. That's how relationships, that's how you build connection. Even if you say nothing, you feel less lonely because you realize how small of a town this is. Yeah, it's New York City, but still, you're running in, because you're in a borough and you're in an area and you realize, I keep seeing the same people. This is pretty cool. Going to a coffee shop. Again, you're putting a little bit of money, maybe get a gift card, buy it for $100 for yourself so that you will show up there and use it, because otherwise you're going to feel stupid. But you keep going to the same place. You recognize people. Yes, they're captive people that can't escape, and don't be hitting on the poor girl, but think you at least are getting recognized. They're starting to acknowledge you, and this can help with loneliness. All right, Jen, so now I want to share with you the solution I think that a lot of people aren't talking about and is solid and will work with everything I just talked about. Now, the solution I'm going to be talking about comes out of behavioral science. And when we look at behavior change, most of us, we start from the outside. We want to change the outcome, then look how we can adjust the process, and maybe we'll get to the identity. What I would encourage you to do, if you want to be less lonely, I would first look at how do you identify yourself, then look at the processes, and finally the outcomes that you want will naturally occur over time. So what do I mean by this? Stop identifying yourself as a lonely person. You're not lonely. Loneliness is a feeling that you occasionally have, and you may have it a lot, but that does not mean you are a lonely person. No, instead, think of yourself as a disconnected person. You just simply aren't connecting with people around you, with things around you. Therefore, you are feeling lonely. What we're doing here is we're shifting your identity. If you view yourself as someone that's just disconnected, guess what? You can fix that. You can take steps to become a more connected person. Just the other day, my son, he took our 2-year-old daughter to the Children's Museum. He's 19 years old. But I think it's safe to say that he never felt lonely when he was with her because he was with another person. He was forming that connection. And this is a human being that, yes, hasn't fully formed cognitively, but think about that because you could have a connection with animals and that would therefore make you less lonely. You can have a connection with nature. The point is you can connect to anything. And you are no longer identifying yourself destined to be a lonely person. No, you're just disconnected and you can take an action to reconnect. So you've changed your identity. All of a sudden you're taking steps in the process and the outcome is all of a sudden you are going to feel more connected. You are going to feel less lonely and that is the result that we're shooting for. Gentlemen, what video to watch next? Boom, I got you covered with this one right here. Check it out. Come on, it's getting heavy, guys. I can do it. I already lifted this morning. Oh yeah, actually I'm just doing squats nowadays, maybe some overhead press, but this is relatively easy. Come on, click.